This episode of the Beauté by ABIC podcast is brought to you by Ethical Sales and Consultation platform.
Hello and welcome to the Beauté by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here we are strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces and bringing you the latest industry news. This is Beauté by ABIC.
Today's guest on Beauté by ABIC podcast is Chrissy Alger from Ethical Sales and Consultation platform. Chrissy Alger is an award-winning skin clinic entrepreneur, business coach, marketing strategist, and psychologist who offers well-informed insights into business strategy for the beauty and cosmetics industry. With a proven track record of helping hundreds of salons ethically generate millions of dollars in revenue and run successful and highly profitable businesses, Chrissy is dedicated to empowering business owners to reach their full potential in a no BS way. She is committed to the ethos and freedom and believes that you can have it all, a successful business and an amazing life. Here to discuss the psychology of the consultation program from Ethical Sales and Consultation platform, today we welcome Chrissy Alger. Welcome to the podcast, Chrissy.
Hello.
Thank you so much for giving your time to come on today and speak to the Beauté by ABIC community. We really appreciate it.
I'm really excited to be here.
So I'm going to kick off with our first question, and that is how, as a psychologist and a business entrepreneur, how did you enter the professional beauty industry?
Well, that's a good question, Nicole. It does actually get asked a lot. It's a bit confusing to see a psychologist floating around in the beauty space. But basically, I spent 10 years in the correctional system as a forensic psychologist. And it dawned on me one day that as you could imagine, the impact behind a prison wall, as far as gains go, was very few and far between. I mean, I loved the industry in terms of, psychology and wellness work, and I really enjoyed working with the clients in that population. But there was just something inside of me that really wanted more. And I decided that I would actually open a wellness centre. So I left corrections and I thought I'm going to build a wellness centre. And in that wellness centre, I am going to host service and offerings that I believe contribute to well-being of people at a really high level. And the other part of the brief of the wellness centre was that my aim was to really incorporate psychology into all of those elements, because what we know about psychology is that even though it's very much accepted these days as you should be able to seek help and you should be able to work through the things you need to work through, I think that it's still very stigmatized in terms of people can be reluctant to get psychological support or to work on themselves. And I thought, well, how can I do this? How can I create a non-confrontational offering where people feel safe to step forward and do the work? So the Wellness Centre was born with that concept in mind. And in the Wellness Centre, I had pretty much 3 businesses running. I had a skin clinic / medi spa, I had a yoga studio, and I had clinical consulting suites. And it was very difficult because obviously that's 3 businesses in one, trying to juggle all of those different outlets. And it was really the Medi Spa that brought me a lot of joy. I didn't realise at the time, but when we were having clients coming in to work on their skin and inadvertently work on their self-confidence and the way that they felt about themselves, I was hooked. I just thought, how do I do more of this? This is so amazing. The transformations in not only people's skin, but the way that people felt about themselves. And it was from there that I branded the skin clinic as its own brand, and I bought it out into its own commercial shop front, and that was where Infinity Skin and Body was born, and it just grew from there. So a bit of a roundabout way of falling. I definitely fell into the industry in terms of I didn't actually realize at the time how much I would enjoy seeing the transformations of people through, their skin journeys and their experiences with my therapists.
Wow, Chrissy, that is so incredible. What a journey. Obviously, you have a lot of experience in the consultation process. Can you tell us how psychology influences and plays an important role in the consultation process?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a little bit of a backstory to this. So, when we open business, obviously there's lots of lessons that we learn through our business experience. And it just so happened that I invested a lot of time in marketing and developing my skills around marketing. And I would say I got pretty good at it. But the problem was that unfortunately, through my skills in marketing, I was able to bring really huge volumes of clients into the clinic. But I very quickly learned that if I didn't have a robust enough consultation process, effectively what happened was we lost all of the clients. So here I am doing Facebook ads and bringing truckloads of new clients into the clinic day in and day out. And at the same time, we were hemorrhaging clients in terms of they weren't purchasing retail, they weren't return visit, they were just coming in, getting their service and walking straight out again. And it was a real eye-opener for me. I thought, oh my goodness, how do I fix this? I have to look at the way that we're consulting clients. And then when I sort of unpacked the way that we were consulting, because I really didn't know a thing about kind of the beauty and the skin industry consultation process. I pretty much, like everybody, go to the industry, say, oh, what does a consult look like, guys? And I was borrowing ideas from people in the industry to build what I thought was a really great consultation process. But it didn't work. And there were philosophies around, well, if you just educate the clients, if you just tell them, what skincare they need and what their next treatment needs to be, then they'll buy it. And the reality was they didn't. So I was really sort of put me on a path of how can I create a consultation process that motivates and inspires clients that are coming into my clinic that weren't overly motivated, to be honest. So the dilemma that I had was, because we were advertising through social media, the clients that were coming into the clinic had never, ever had skin treatments before. They saw a great ad and they thought, oh, this looks amazing. But they'd come in and they were lucky to have used like a supermarket brand moisturizer. They were not educated and they'd never even contemplated, investing in a journey or cosmeceutical home care before. So I had a big job ahead of me. What I learned was that there were some psychological principles that I borrowed from my time within the psychology space in treating clients and, drug and alcohol clients and violent offenders and, the people in the community that needed my help. And there was a style of interviewing that we would use to increase motivation and commitment of clients for change processes. And I thought, well, I'm wondering whether I could marry up my skills in psychology with the clinical consultation process where I'm actually asking questions to increase motivation and commitment and then educate using the skin industry sort of basic format. And pretty much what was born from there was a very high converting consultation process that pretty much fixed all of my leakage of clients from coming in and going straight out the door. We went from, having clients that, 80% of clients kind of just walking straight out to really being able to transform that to 80 to 90% of clients investing in treatment journeys and also taking home care. So it was a radical transformation and it was all facilitated through a consultation process that incorporated motivation and commitment in addition to the clinical aspects of consultation.
That's so interesting and also confusing at the same time, in that a lot of people talk about finding the ideal client. But from what you're saying, the ideal client is not necessarily someone who has a lot of money. It comes down to the consultation process. And I believe that you state that ideal clients are created via the
Correct.
consultation process. Can you explain that a little bit more to us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you have a consultation process that not only speaks to the needs of the client from a clinical perspective, because that's what we've been doing for so long, right? A lot of the questions are around what's your AM and your PM routine and what do you need help with, and very basic sort of information collecting questions. And I suppose for someone that isn't overly motivated, you get that excuse making around, oh, well, I don't really have the money, or I'm not really sure, or I need to go and ask my husband. I don't know how many times we heard that when we had all of the clients coming in, or I don't have my roster. Like when you just ask basic questions about people's needs and tried to educate them, it just it wasn't enough. And what I saw when I started to look around the industry is people in the industry saying, oh, well, if she's not ready to buy, then she's not my ideal client. And I fundamentally had a problem with that, because as a psychologist, I knew that people presented with needs, but they also presented at different levels of motivation. Like there's some people that have a concern and they know that they want to change it, but they might not be 100% motivated at that given time to engage in the changes that they need to make to get the outcomes, right? So, for me, when I watch the industry sort of saying, oh, well, that marketing doesn't bring me my ideal client, and I kind of went, well, what's an ideal client? And unfortunately, I felt like a lot of clients were kind of being tossed on the scrap heap under the guise of, oh, well, not ready, go away. And I thought, there's got to be more that we can do for these people. And if you consult in the right way, so if you balance out, questioning around motivation and commitment, in addition to, getting the clinical information that we need, you can actually influence motivation and commitment in that way. And then ultimately transform somebody that's kind of interested, but, not really invested, to somebody that is committed. And it was through that consultation process that I designed that I was able to really battle test that and find that it worked.
That's so incredible, and such a valuable lesson for everybody within the industry to take away and ponder on. When a clinic owner or a therapist turns around and says to you, look, the client that I'm consulting just keeps saying no, regardless of what I'm offering, whether it's cheaper or quicker or no downtime. What is your recommendation for dealing with those type of clients?
Yeah, I think because it's so common, like that would probably be the number one question when therapists and clinic owners are coming to me for advice around this. Some of them are like, well, I've tried all of the things and they just seem to be resistant or objecting. And what I would say is that we in sales land, that no, we frame that up as an objection. Okay. And what we know is that in the decision-making process preceding a purchase, objections are actually a natural and normal part of the process. And if you look at it from the perspective of when somebody is saying no, they're actually really saying that they don't see the value in what you have to offer, right? And it's not that what you're offering is not valuable, because it is. More often than not, it's because you've missed the mark between articulating the value in a way that the client can connect to.
Your beauty skin consultation should be a place of value for your clients, not pushy sales tactics. But often, therapists struggle to conduct a consultation that not only aims to educate the client, but also motivate them to invest. A client with no products or treatment plans in place is a client with no results. What do we do if they keep saying no? The answer lies in the motivating driven consultation process, which targets both the clinical assessment needs and the commitment needed to ensure your clients are in it for the long haul. Need help to implement a consultation process that actually gets commitment from the client without a sleazy sales tactic? The Ethical Sales and Consultation Training Platform has everything you need. Visit chrissyalgerzing.com/ethical-sales for more details.
So the biggest challenge that I see with therapists in consultation is that they will do a lot of this education-based clinical consultation style, which completely bamboozles the client. They end up very confused and overwhelmed. And then, they present a prescription and a plan for addressing the concerns, but the client actually doesn't connect with it. One, because they're confused. Two, because they're very overwhelmed and there was a lot of information. And three, because the therapist probably hasn't been able to connect with the client in a way that the client, like in a layperson's way, like they just need the basics. They need to understand, what it is that they'll get out of the treatment and the home care prescription and what they can expect to see in terms of results. That's all that they need. So when someone's saying no, my belief is that they don't see the value, and there's that disconnection between what you're offering and the client connecting with the value of that offer.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm, as a client, sometimes in certain clinics or hairdressers or whatnot, I want something and they don't ask for the sales. So when you have team members within your clinic who are, or that you're coaching a clinic owner, and there's people who are fearful for selling, they don't want to ask for the sale or, close the sale, I guess, so to speak. What strategies do you recommend for managing this?
Yeah, and I think that's another sort of challenge that I'm faced with when clinic owners and therapists are coming to me for support. There is definitely an anxiety. They're coming from a place of, I need to sell X amount of products, or I need to make sure my rebooking is, 90%, or whatever the targets or the expectations are. The anxiety of, I suppose, not being able to meet the standard and not being able to get the commitment from the clients is what challenges the process. And I think that the biggest thing that you need to get your therapist to understand for them to be able to perform at a high level is that what they're doing is actually providing a full service. So when you have somebody come to you that's got a certain concern, they're expected to be led. They're expected to be provided with a range of solutions. Home care and treatment mapping or planning is part of the solution, right? But that is lost sight of. And I feel like sometimes business owners get too caught up in the metrics and the numbers, and they lose sight of the big picture, which is the intent. And the intent at any given time when you're consulting with the client is to meet needs and provide value, right? And in the vein of doing that, you prescribe home care and you treatment plan for people. But as a byproduct of that, people will give you money, right? You'll make sales. But when the sales is the focus, that's where the anxiety comes in. So I think it's about connecting to the real intention, getting really, really clear on what your purpose is. And your purpose is to meet needs and provide value. Okay. Doing that means home care prescription and treatment plan.
Yes, absolutely. Clinic owners and teams sometimes have difficulty with consistency when it comes to retailing and ensuring that clients are rebooking. What are your strategies for managing this?
Yeah, so really consistency is about, first of all, from the previous answer, really understanding your purpose, like your intention. And I think if you're driven from the right place, like if you literally are rocking up to work every day and your sole desire is to meet needs and provide value, then naturally there should be consistency in your sales, right? Now, where it probably goes a little bit skew-if is possibly, people might be in roles for the wrong reasons, or they've lost their passion, or they've lost their connection to purpose. There's a whole lot of reasons why people might be struggling to get those outcomes with clients. To me, if you love what you do and you're motivated by meeting needs and providing value, then your performance should always be consistent, right? If there are challenges to that, such as level of commitment, or maybe the environment is one that's not nurturing, or, there could be a whole range of issues, which means that either, the therapist needs to make a decision around moving into an environment that is nurturing and going to get the best out of them from a performance perspective, or from the business owner's perspective, they might have somebody on deck that might not be a good fit, or has lost their passion, or has become disconnected, and they're kind of just rocking up and cutting a paycheck. And in that instance, there's possibly a misalignment there. So my view is that consistency really comes from making sure that you're motivated by the right things. And if you're motivated by meeting needs and providing value, then consistency won't be a problem.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you've touched on the importance of obviously the team being happy and motivated and passionate. One of the biggest challenges in this industry, and I know you would know that beauty therapy is on the skills shortage list. How do clinic owners attract the right people, the right staff?
Yeah, I think that as a business owner, you have to be really clear on what you want to stand for in terms of your culture and your ethics, your values. And for me, when I had my skin clinic, and even now in my current businesses, I've got 3 different businesses. One business is online, but 2 of those businesses all have an established, I wouldn't say it's a code of ethics, but it's a value system. Right. And there's a range of values in there that we uphold, and everybody understands the importance of those values, and everybody connects. And I think, it's values like integrity and honesty and, commitment and enthusiasm and whatever else is in the value set. But we would only recruit when we ask questions that showed that the candidate could demonstrate alignment with those values. Because to me, you can train any sort of skill set, but you cannot fundamentally change personality and what people are motivated or not motivated by. So I think that as long as somebody is aligned with your value system that you have in place in your business, and they can demonstrate examples of that, and they're open and they're committed to growth, you can work with anybody with that frame. I think the difficulty is if you are out there and you're hiring because you're like, oh no, we really need to get a therapist quick, and you get an application and you have a look at it and they've got some credentials and you think, oh, they'll do, let's just hire this person. And that hiring out of desperation approach never ever works. And you end up with somebody that, is not a good fit, is possibly not contributing in a positive way to the culture, and is possibly not delivering the quality of customer journey that you want to maintain. So always lead with values, and always select people based on alignment with those values. And I think if you can have that in mind at all times, you'll stop hiring out of desperation and ultimately picking the wrong people.
Yes, absolutely. And Chrissy, this is a hard one. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Can you give us an example of a story of a clinic that you have coached that has come to you in desperations, on the end of despair? There's been that turnaround, transformational story.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one that really comes into my mind. It's a clinic. We're clinic owner from Perth, actually. And she came to me, I reckon it was about 18 months ago now. And it was a little bit of an SOS call. She'd been referred to me by another industry person that said, oh, goodness me, I've just done some machine training for this individual and she's in a whole lot of pain post-COVID. She hasn't been able to recover. She's got no new clients. Like all of her existing clients are dropping off. Can you help her? And I thought, oh, okay, yep, no problems. I'm happy to get her on a call. And we had a bit of a chat, and she was a little bit, she would say to me things, oh, I've heard you're really good at marketing, but, I don't really, I'm a bit frightened of this sort of discounting thing that, and I wasn't promoting it. I was known for a strategy around low barrier to entry offering. And the trouble with that is that a lot of the industry have got a bad rap, gets rolled into discounting style marketing, and it's not that at all. Anyway, so I started working with, once I was able to allay some of those fears, I said, no, look, I'm not about that. Let's have a look at what's happening. Basically, what we were able to do now, this clinic owner was lucky to be doing $5,000 a week. And I think she had 2 team members at the time. We put together a strategy that really worked on building the business internally. So things like, definitely consultation process and making sure, because she was clinically, she was excellent. And I think that's the thing about a lot of the business owners in the skin and beauty industry. technically and clinically, they're great. Really, really good at what they do. They know their stuff. But from a business perspective, this is where the wheels roll off, right? So the leadership's not there. The processes and the structures are not there outside of the technical work, things around operations and client journey. And, she was missing all of that. She was missing systems around new client acquisition and then retention systems as well, and obviously to be successful at the marketing strategies that we were implementing, she had to have a really, really good consultation process as well. So we worked really solidly for 6 months on getting all of that kind of embedded. And immediately, she was looking at anywhere between $12,000 and $15,000 weeks at that stage. Now, this business owner these days, so we implemented don't like to use the word membership, and I'm in so much trouble lately for some of the content that I've been putting out, but I'm a massive advocate for the fact that I don't like saying the word membership because I don't think it accurately reflects what we're doing as skin and beauty clinics. I think that treatment and service planning and setting up recurring payment for that, don't have an issue with the recurring payment function, but we really should be speaking in terms of treatment and service planning. So what we put in place was a really robust methodology for treatment and service planning, which enabled her clients to invest in, treatment plans that were 6 to 12 months in length and pay those off in a weekly recurring payment method. And that pretty much built her business to, I think she was doing about 15,000 a week at that time to now she's pushing anywhere between 20 and 25,000 a week in revenue. So, this was a business owner that came to me lucky to be scraping the barrel at $5,000 a week when we first started.
Wow, that is so incredible and so inspirational. And if somebody wants to contact you to get support, to do coaching, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm all over the platforms. So you can catch me at Chrissy Alger on Facebook and Instagram. So my Instagram handle is at Chrissy Alger _Zing. You can email me, which is a little bit archaic, but you email's still there. So chrissy@zingcoach.com.au. But yeah, feel free to follow me on socials and send me a DM and I'm happy to help out.
Incredible. Chrissy, thank you so much for your time today. You have just been a powerhouse. We've just flown through this podcast, but there's so much information. I feel like I need to listen to the podcast 3 times.
No, I was so excited coming on for today. I just think, the more that I can really sort of get the industry to think about some of these things, the bigger impact that I'm making. And that for me is what this is all about. So thanks heaps for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Hopefully we see you again soon on a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live. And of course you are hosting our panel at one of the panels at the Elevate conference next year, which we cannot wait for.
Yes, very, very excited about that. So hopefully I see everybody there because I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Beauty by ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.